Alright folks, our practice is ending now and we should be starting soon. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties on my end in the sense that I can't seem to get to my YouTube channel to post the link. So I'm going to keep trying to do that for the next minute or two. You probably have about 2 minutes before this race starts. Alright, we are getting going. I am just finishing my updates to all the social media services so that everybody knows we are live, and off we go for the beginning of our pace lap. It looks like this lap is going to be a full pace lap because we did start the pace lap at the start-finish line, so I will expect that we will go all the way around VIR, and this is VIR full, which is... Well, let's do a little drop down on the track, shall we, as we go around and take a look at some of these cars. Oops, sorry, that is the wrong button. Looks like one of my track overlay is over my neat little icon here, but as you can see, the track link at VIR is 3.244 miles. So it's on the longer side of road racing courses that I've raced on myself. It does feel like a long course. Of course, that gives you an advantage of having... I'm getting a little bit of an echo there. Sorry, that is because I am also was just checking to make sure my YouTube channel was up and running, and the volume was still going, but it's gone now. Echo's dead. So we have... I do apologize for saying a lot. 3.2 miles, like I said, a bit of a longer track. The nice thing about having a bit of a longer track is you have a couple more straights in this, and those straights give you sort of a faster racing experience. Now, VIR definitely has some tight turns. There's a curvy part coming up here. I swear I know all these names, but they're just blanking on my mind right now. I'm heavily dosed on Sudafed and antibiotics. If you've been following, you know that I've been sick for like a month, and I've been taking everything I can to try to not be sick. So this will be an enduro race tonight. We will be going for 1.3 hours or 78 minutes. So a bit on the longer end of races that we have. Many would say as an enduro that's not very long, but this one does force everybody to make at least one pit based on fuel. You may see more than that. I think our last enduro we had some cars that did 2. Gonna take a look at our leader up here, Michael Monahan, as we come around. And I really am drawing a blank here. I've raced this course multiple times, and I actually know all the names of all these turns. And for some reason, my brain is just telling me, nope, I am not going to let you remember any of these. And my track map that I have, again, adjusting my information in UI, it's a little too small for me to see anything, so we'll just... So we have our pace car off, and now we have the green flag. Definitely hear those engines roaring as we come in here to turn 1. Michael Monahan keeping the lead. Behind him in the number 4 car, we have Forrest Landy. There are some very deceptively tricky turns on VIR, and they really kind of throw you for a loop sometimes. They're not always the standard outside, inside, outside type turn that you'll do on most racetracks. You see Michael and Landry here both kind of just going straight through those S-curves. If you hit them right and you go through them the right way, you really don't move back and forth very much. And this part up here really is kind of tricky. This left-hander is almost completely blind. You really just have to kind of memorize it. Because as you make that left turn, it's a downhill drop, and you really can't see much of anything. especially not in a lot of these race cars, which typically are lower than a regular car. So when you're lower, you see even less around you. If you've ever been in a giant pickup truck, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Looks like Devin Taylor dropping several places in his Mustang. Either he just got passed by a wild pack of VWs. Yep, and that's what it looks like. You can see the VWs up here are in a nice little pack. Let's go ahead and go through the list. We got Michael Monahan up front, Forrest Landry right behind him, Eric Jones trying to catch up to those two in the number 51, Mike Kelly in the 56 leading our Volkswagen group, Frank Alessi in the 14 right on his tail, Dave Fitzgerald in the number 12, and Travis Trussell in the 140. These Volkswagens right now all running a nice pack here. Not really letting anybody run away with it yet. Devin Taylor in the number 18 must have had a bit of an incident, dropping back. And our first Miata to cross the start-finish line on his first lap is Zach Rubin, who's 9th overall in the number 10 car. Behind him, you have Paul Darling in the 155. Looks like Paul's got a little bit of speed on Zach. Might be setting up for a pass here, trying to go on the inside on one, but no, he's not going to go for that. Probably a smart choice. Right behind him is David Alessandrini, who I don't think we've seen in a few laps. He's kind of, or a few races. I think he's kind of been out, probably doing other things. Nice little pack up here in the front with the Miatas. Definitely an experienced group of racers and a pretty aggressive group of racers, so it should be fairly interesting. Jeff Jacobs not far behind, 4th place in the Miatas, the number 38. Dennis Barnett in the 91 car. Ido Waxman in the number 7. Sam Scott in the number 98. Noel Leslie in the 09. C.B. Ronlich in the 83. And Alan Claffey, I think it's Claffey, with his I Am Slow bumper sticker in last place. So, that's funny, Alan. Go ahead and take a look up top. We have a lot of close races so far right now. I mean, definitely Michael Monahan, Forrest Landry. But here we have Frank passing Mike in the Volkswagens to take over for first in his group. Nice pass there. Dave Fitzgerald right behind him, watching the action take place. I'm showing that Devin has advanced on Travis. Devin is in a Mustang, so he's gotten ahead of Travis Trussell and would probably love to pass this group. Something he should definitely be able to do on this straight section right here. As you can see, that Mustang just flying past these cars. As we come into the braking zone, little bit of mix, giving Dave a little bit of an opportunity to catch up. I probably would have stuck my nose in there and gotten a little bit more aggressive with the 56 car of Mike Kelly. But Dave still being able to make the pass. And is he going to keep it? I don't know. Looks like he's going to give it up here on this turn. I think one of the things I'm going to pull up is my VIR turn list, so I can start reminding myself what these things are called. We still have Michael Monahan in the lead in front of Forrest Landry and Eric Jones about 5 seconds behind that pack, so not much changing there. With our Miatas, we have Zach, who's in 3rd, Paul, who's in 2nd, and David Alessandrini in 1st. I really like watching these cars drive. I mean, the Miatas really, when driven correctly, are quite smooth around the track. If you watch their lines, their angles, their smoothness, I mean, there's almost an art to driving these type of cars because they are momentum cars. Unlike a Mustang, which is a horsepower car, where, you know, if you make a mistake, you can make up for it with the pedal. You can't do that in a Miata. So as you see the number 10 car gaining here, that's because he came out of that previous turn all the way back faster than these two. So he was able to make a gain on them. Little bit of contact there. I think these guys are braking a little early at the top of that hill. You can definitely go pretty deep on that hill. Much deeper than any of the markers would ever let you think. I hope my stream is smooth for you all. I will tell you right now that my computer is not being overly responsive. There was a major Windows update today, and I think my computer is currently downloading that major update in the background. So as you can imagine, that is slowing some things up. And it looks like Santa's visiting my house. He's ringing some bells in the background. I don't know if you all heard that, but you probably did with this microphone. Actually, what it probably was, it was probably Jingle the Elf going off to visit Santa now that the kids are in bed, and I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow in a very interesting place, as he likes to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that we're probably not going to have live chat tonight, because whatever is slowing down my computer, it's definitely slowing down the live chat. I'm actually going to do something here and try to check out what the YouTube looks like on my phone, because that will give me a good idea of what you all are seeing. And if it's really, really bad, maybe I can take some steps to fix that. So as we can see in our Volkswagen race, still kind of Frank, Dave, Mike, Travis, everybody relatively close to one another. Is a pretty tight pack. So I took a look at the YouTube channel on my phone, because I'm apparently an amazing multitasker, and I will say that it looked like it was fine to me. The sound sounded good, the video quality looked fine. So hopefully you all are seeing that as well and are not having any issues, because I'm not going to mess with my web browser given what's going on. I don't want to break anything if it's working. So yeah, if you've got my phone number, you can always text me. No, I'm not going to give it out on the air, but you can always shoot me a text and say, hey, something's not right. But for now, we'll just kind of go with what's working. Since this is an 78-minute broadcast, you might have a few moments of silence for me as we go around this track. Forrest Landry pulling out in front of Michael Monahan. See if Michael lets him keep that here. I only say that, folks, because I might need a few seconds here or there just to kind of catch my breath. It's going to be quite a long race. Yeah, and even though I said I wasn't going to, I did check my YouTube chat because I'm a glutton for punishment, and it's just not working. The interesting thing is every week we seem to have some sort of technical problem, but it's different every week. It's never the same problem. So I guess in a way that's good, because we don't suffer with me doing the same wrong things over and over, but it's also bad because I fix one thing and then something else breaks. It's just, you know, the joys of amateur broadcasting. As we see here in the Miata group, it's Paul, Zach, and David. So definitely some position changes going on here. As we come on down here into the hog pen, come around the hog pen and get on the front straight. I'm hearing that we got an issue in the pits. Oh, look at that to the right. Somebody is definitely on fire. I believe that's CB. It is CB. Oh, poor CB. We'll check back in with him later. Hopefully he's able to recover and get back on the track. But if you saw that when I called it out, just kind of neat to see that plume of smoke as you drove by. I really like how iRacing is adding little features here. You can see the smoke there on the right side of the screen. Soon you're going to have guys who actually run out in the pits and like change your tires and fix your car. They're animated in the sense that they stand on the sidelines next to your car. Sounds like we got somebody who just crashed in South Bend. I think it was Forrest. So Forrest now in a deep third place, about 11 seconds behind our leader. Eric Jones still 8 seconds behind Michael, where he's been fairly consistently throughout this race. And Michael Monahan just getting out in front. And folks, this is the worst place that you want Michael to be, because once he is in first, he just drives stupid fast laps consistently over and over again. Looks like CB is still on fire. Somebody get that man a fire extinguisher. But yeah, Michael will just drive lap after lap consistently fast. He's currently running, his fastest lap is a 2:04. His previous lap was a 2:06. So he is still running, you know, consistently fast. And I think we're just going to see Forrest Landry running a 2:17 that last lap, to give you an idea. 11 seconds slower than the current pace of about 2:06. Eric Jones actually running a 2:06.0, whereas Michael Monahan has a 2:06.6. So Eric Jones running some faster laps there. If Michael gets cocky, Eric might catch him. Closing the gap now a half a second to about 7.5. So there's always a chance. This is a long race. We have about 31 laps to go. Normally we run about a dozen laps, and here we're running, you know, almost 3 times that. So with 31 laps to go, there is a lot of race left. You can see our Miata pack of Zach, David, Paul, and Jeff are really not that far. Oh, it looks like Paul going off, getting back on the track, saying, I'm not going to let a little grass slow me down. Didn't look like he gained or lost any positions. I would say in normal racing, there's no penalty with that because he didn't really cut anything. But iRacing is always an interesting beast, and you never know when they're going to give somebody a penalty. You see David there really riding the tail of Zach. Something that's very common in the Miatas. You know, he's getting a little drag boost there. And he's being careful not to actually bump draft because he doesn't want to push Zach down the track. That would only make Zach faster. But he's trying to get behind him and get a bit of draft so that he can keep his speed up and maybe get a little bit of momentum over Zach. But you will see Miatas. Oop, looks like David there having a little bit of rear end looseness coming out of hog pen. And that's going to allow Paul to just sort of fly by him. A lot of change-up going on here. And you can see these Miatas are catching up to our Volkswagen group. Led by Frank. Mike is in second. David is in third. And Travis is in fourth. All 4 of our Volkswagens this week staying right on top of one another. Really some good racing. Michael, Eric, Forrest, and Devin all in first, second, third, and fourth. And pretty well spread out. Looks like Forrest has made some gains on Eric for the second and third place. battle that might be coming. They're about, well, they're exactly 2 seconds apart right now. But Michael Monahan's still up there with an almost 8-second lead. Mike Kelly kissing the curb there. If you saw that about 2 seconds ago, he definitely had 2 tires up in the air. Pretty amazing pass. I wonder if David's going to hold it, carrying a lot of speed into this carnival here, but he's able to keep it. If I remember correctly, oh, it's the roller coaster. It's called the roller coaster. And the roller coaster empties into the hog pen. You know, folks, I was close with carnival. You got to give me that. Roller coasters at least are at carnivals. Some action here in our Jetta group. Looks like David advancing in front of Mike. Mike Kelly's got some speed though. So it's anyone's guess what's going to happen by the end of this lap. We're moving into the snake. The top of the snake, we have what is called the South Bend, which is this drop off to the left, this blind left essentially. And this blind left has a hard brake right turn into Oak Tree, which you will see the majestic VIR Oak Tree, which is dead. It died a couple of years ago from a disease. I think it was about 2, which is pretty amazing considering that tree, before they put up those barricades, and probably even after, has been hit by a lot of cars, and some sort of tree virus ended up taking it down. Our Miatas are David, Zach, Paul, and Jeff. Still pretty tight group up here. Anybody's race. Let's take a look at these Volkswagens as they come around through Hog Pen into the front straight. Dave moving a little bit to the outside of Frank. Frank really not on the optimum line here. Dave might be able to carry more speed through here. Depends on how much he used his brake. Probably a little bit of over-braking there on Dave. I think he could have carried more speed and passed Frank before we entered this NASCAR bend into the left hook. This is the left hook right here. The turn before that is the NASCAR bend. It's going to be interesting if our Miatas catch up to our Volkswagens. It looks like they are slowly creeping up on these guys. There's about a 2-second difference right now, but they are definitely creeping. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that driver's drop. I don't think we need it right now. This currently is the back straight that we're on. Very fast. You'll see those brake markers. You see brake lights now, but you don't really see any brake lights at those brake markers. You don't really brake until you hit that hill. You allow the downward force of gravity as you're going up a hill. It's applying friction to your car, and it allows you to apply more braking power. So if you do it right, you basically blow through what VIR considers the braking zone, which is probably a braking zone when you run something like an Atom car, which is like a very light F1 car. I know VIR races Atoms, or at least offers Atoms as a thing that you can come out and run in, maybe as like a track day. So definitely an open wheel car, very fast, like a 4-cylinder engine, but weighs nothing. So Atoms like fly, they're pretty cool. So maybe that's a braking zone for an Atom, because they're probably doing like 180 miles an hour down that back straight. But for these guys, I don't think so. They're gonna fly past the braking zone. They're gonna hit that hill before the roller coaster, and they're going to hit their brakes right before the turn. David, our race leader, catching up to the Volkswagens. This is where it's going to get kind of interesting, folks. We have two different cars, different speeds. The Volkswagens should have a little bit more power than these Miatas, but they don't have the maneuverability. Oh, it's getting all mixed up now. David going wide. I've definitely done that a lot. That coming out of Oak Tree, there's a reason why it's all dirt there, even in the simulation, because car tires are frequently going off there and just tearing up the grass and turning it into dirt. And now we have Paul moving past Travis. All four of our Miatas are now in front of Travis. All four of our leading Miatas, I should say. And there's about a 20-second gap between Miata number 4 and Miata number 5. Jeff being in 4th and Ido being in 5th. So I expect that we will be watching these two packs of 4 quite a bit. Not much has changed in our Mustang race. You got Michael Monahan with Forrest Landry about 8.5 seconds behind him. Eric Jones 17.5 seconds behind Michael, and Devin 27.8 seconds behind Michael. So those cars are very spaced out. As you can see if you look at the track map. As a matter of fact, Michael now catching up and passing our Miata in the back of the pack of Alon Claffey. who is 17th overall. CB Bronlich has retired. His engine block probably melted. As we can see, our two Miatas have pushed Mike Kelly back and are now putting pressure on our top two Jettas. This, of course, great for the first and second place Miatas because they are definitely putting some distance. And they are going through those turns much faster than the Volkswagens, which is why they are causing a little bit of havoc because, you know, they're not racing against these Volkswagens, but they are racing against each other. And they want as much space between the Miata behind them as they can get. I don't think Paul's too happy with David getting in front of Dave. So he's probably going to try and make an aggressive move at some point. Like here, where they're both taking each other out. Oh, no. And then Paul cut the course. Dave has to turn around. Oh, that's really... Oh, doing a three-point turn. So I imagine Paul's going to wind up with a penalty. And Dave now going to be severely off the pace. David, in the 191, David Alessandrini has taken the lead of the Miata Volkswagen mix-up, and so he is going to definitely put some room between himself and Jeff, who is now in second, Paul in third, Zach in fourth as far as the Miatas go, but it's literally Miata, Volkswagen, Miata, Volkswagen, Miata, Volkswagen, Miata, Volkswagen. So they are all mixed up now. So as we can see here, second and third of our Volkswagens is Mike and Travis, with Zach right behind them. Zach, who I believe, if we take a look, is pretty banged up on his left side. See if we get a good shot of that. I don't have like a free pan camera I can spin around or anything. Yeah, it looks like that front left headlight and his door are kind of messed up. So when he pits, you know, they're probably going to want to repair some of that. I don't know if that's going to add to his pit time. We also have to remember that all of these cars are going to be making a pit at some point, and we still have 23 laps to go. So that's quite a bit of time. So it looks like Dave Fitzgerald went ahead and took a pit. I see Paul Darling still up in the top 3. So I'm inclined to think that he didn't get a penalty, but he did cut Oak Tree. So I'm a little surprised there. But Dave taking a pit and getting his tires and his fuel early might pay off later in the race. Allen getting lapped by our race leader Miata, David. Interestingly, there's been a little bit going on up here. Eric and Devin seem to be trading places in 3rd and 4th, but Forrest now only 3.5 seconds behind Michael. So Forrest has definitely made up some significant time, which is great for him. We'll see if he is going to be able to put some pressure on Michael coming up here. You can see that he's definitely got him in his sights now. 3.5 seconds is not that much of a gap. And we'll have to see how that all works out going through this race, which we still have 40 minutes to go. Michael taking a pit on lap 18. So he comes back out on the track. He is going to be... Well, I have a lot of data telling me he's second in the Mustangs right now. So his pit took about 23 seconds, and he's 38 seconds behind Forrest. So, you know, they're still close, depending on when Forrest decides to pit. Looks like Eric and Devin have already taken their pits. So if they can manage to stay on the track... and we only see one pit this race. You know, Eric's currently about 12 seconds behind our leader. Not behind our leader, behind Michael. Forrest is currently our leader, but remember, Forrest still has not taken his pit for this race. Still a close pack here with our Miatas of Paul and Zach battling it out. Zach in first, Paul in second. The car you're watching from is the nose of Paul Darling chasing Zach into this tight turn here leading into Oak Tree. Forrest took his pit, which is going to put him up on top of Michael again. Forrest about 3 seconds behind Michael, so he kind of gained some time. Gained about half a second in that last lap. Forrest, of course, is going to have a little bit more. It's going to have a little fresher tires. Only about a lap fresher. I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference, but we'll see as we go. Looks like Forrest gaining about half a second on that lap. This should be interesting as we continue on this race. The Mustang race is definitely not won by anybody. I'm currently testing the YouTube live chat. I seem to have gotten the page to load, and maybe it's working, maybe it's not. I checked the stream on my phone, and everything looks good and smooth. That's why you were watching David in the pits a little bit. It looks like now everybody has taken their pits except for Frank, Paul, and Travis. Frank and Travis being number 1 and number 2 in the Volkswagens, and Paul being number 1 currently in the Miatas. Of course, when those 3 pit, it's going to be interesting. David Fitzgerald making up several places. He's currently in 13th overall, 4th in the Volkswagens, but between him and Mike Kelly is Ido Waxman. So, again, everybody having taken their pits, but when Frank and Travis end up pitting, that's going to give Mike and David a little bit of catch-up. Will it be enough? It is hard to say. There you see Michael with Forrest right behind him. Forrest making up some significant time. Running about at 2:04.3 in his laps, whereas Mike is in the 2:05. So that would explain how Forrest has been creeping up on the tail of Michael. Now there is nothing separating these two. We do have Paul coming back on the track here. And it looks like he's going to come back in 3rd place behind Zach and David. Although he's only about a second behind Zach. And that puts him about 4 seconds behind David. So I don't know if you guys are seeing any live chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, I haven't seen anybody respond to me, so I guess I can just assume it's broken. Forrest taking a bit of the agricultural route to get through that turn. Not the recommended racing line, but I don't think he suffered too much for it. Oak Tree is kind of a great equalizer. You can make a mistake before it, but everybody has to slow down so much to make it through Oak Tree that, you know, if you do what you just saw Forrest do, you don't really lose that much time. I mean, he's still only 1.3 seconds behind Michael. So I really don't know if he lost much time at all. Now as we come down the front straight, Forrest closing the gap to less than a second. Frank and Travis still the only 2 on the track who have not taken their pits. I hope they remember that they have to pit, because if they run out of gas, it's going to really give Mike and Dave quite an advantage. It's really anybody's race up here in the Miata group. You've got David, Zach, and Paul all right on top of one another. They're not exactly pushing each other down the track, but they are close. Old Spice 8 saying here. So my live chat is working. If anybody wants to ask me any questions or has any suggestions or wants a particular camera angle, like we could always do the blimp, which I know everybody loves the blimp. Coming out of turn 1, going into the NASCAR bend. You're watching from the car of Forrest. The left hook. And we enter the snake. Michael looking like he took that left hook and right turned into the snake a little faster than Forrest, getting a little bit of distance there. This being the South Bend, entering Oak Tree Turn, which dumps us out on the back straight. Forrest flying down the back straight, making a pass on Michael. You're going to see he is going to stay in it to the last minute, slamming on those brakes, going into the roller coaster, back on the gas. Coming down into Hog Pen. A lot of guys lose it here. And out onto the front straight. Michael giving up a lot of space to Forrest. And we'll switch to another camera when we come out of the horseshoe. This is the horseshoe coming right around. And back to NASCAR Bend. Michael making up some of that time, getting right up on Forrest. Of note, Forrest has led 5 laps. Michael has led 20. And all our cars have taken their pit except for Frank, who is currently first in the Volkswagen. But our other 3 Volkswagens are grouped up together. It's not a tight pack, but they are sort of second, third, and fourth. So we'll see what happens when Frank decides to finally take his pit. Nice to see a little action up front with the Mustangs. As you can see in a long enduro race like this, anybody has the opportunity to sort of come out and retake a position. Even when somebody leads for 20 laps, it's not a guarantee that you're going to lead all the way to the end. And it's all about who crosses the finish line first. With 22:40 to go. You sort of always ask yourself when you see these kind of cars coming up on a lap car is how is that lap car going to affect the race? But it looks like they're not going to catch the lap car until after Oak, which means he's probably not going to have much effect at all because they have plenty of room on this straight to pass that little Miata. If you look closely, well, right before I say this, but you could see those front rotors glowing bright orange of Michael's 05 Mustang coming into the horseshoe, just having to apply all that braking pressure. Makes those rotors glow red hot. And even in the daytime, you can see it. It's kind of orangish. But when you watch a night race, it glows. I mean, it puts off light. Those rotors get so hot, which is kind of an amazing thing to think about. How intense the braking is and how hot those metals are getting, that they're glowing bright red in a race event. I'll try to make note of it next time as we come around horseshoe. That Miata coming off the racing line to let these guys pass, but he probably should have just stayed on the line. I think that's what Forrest was expecting. And that's honestly how you have incidents, when you do something that the other racers are not expecting. These Mustangs are used to passing you. They're used to getting around slower cars. So you just want to stay your line and let them go around you. They will go around you. There's definitely, with this horsepower difference, no doubt that they're going to pick their pass and they're going to take it. We should get a nice close-up here of horseshoe. You watch that front right wheel. See it? Glowing hot orange. I mean, that's what they do in real life too, and it's kind of cool. Again, iRacing, this simulation. They really should be paying me to tout their, sing their praises as much as I do. But they really do make a great simulation. I believe we're catching up to Dave Fitzgerald. Nope. That's Frank, who's currently in first place of the Volkswagens. We've got the Mustangs catching up to him. Of note, Frank still has not pitted. I think now at this point probably a strategic error, because Mike, Travis, and Dave have all made up some significant time. Frank's probably going to be pretty close to Mike when he finally goes in and comes out of the pits. Our Miatas, first through fourth, is still David, Paul, Jeff, and Zach. Really, it looks like David and Paul are close to one another. Half a second gap. I'm going to jump over there because we're so close. Our Mustangs are also incredibly close. 0.3 seconds gap between Michael and Forrest. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information as we go around. We watch our first and second overall, Forrest and Michael. We are, of course, the Washington, D.C. Region Sports Car Club of America. You can find us at WDCR-SCCA.org. Our goal is to have our new website launched on January 1st. If that happens, I know one of our races is definitely after January 1st, so I will tell you. I think we have another race before Christmas, and then a 1 or 2 week break. Let me check the Virtual Mars schedule. Also, you'll see, besides WDCR-SCCA.org, we can find out about road racing and solo, and our performance driving experience, which is bring a car and a helmet, any car, you can get some track time and some instruction, and our rallycross, which is sort of like road racing but in the dirt. You can find out about those events, those real events, not simulated, at WDCR-SCCA.org. VirtualMars.com, your home for this series. We called it Virtual Mars because Mars stands for the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series, which is our premier driving series in the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series for the Washington, D.C. region. That is the cup that we race for every year. There's multiple classes of cars. These Mustangs would be in a class called Big Bore, but we also have things like several different Miata classes, Spec Miata, Showroom Spec Miata being a regional exclusive to the Washington, D.C. region. We also have other classes like ITA, which is mixed with cars. It's a very large rule book called the GCR, which will tell you everything you need to know about how to outfit something like an ITA or an ITS car or an STU, which are not spec classes. Those are classes that have multiple types of cars in them, but they're all designed to be relatively competitive with one another. Spec classes would be something like Spec Miata or Spec RX-7, which is one of our older classes. Used to be sort of the big dominant class before Miatas really took the stage, and is still raced. There's about a dozen active racers that still race the Spec RX-7, which is pretty decent. But to give you an idea, like a showroom spec or Spec Miata, you're looking at 35 to 40 drivers on the track. I have, in my short racing career, seen 50 drivers on the track in some of those classes, which is about the max that Summit Point can hold, which is our home track. But there is a wide variety of classes out there for folks that you can get into, things that are inexpensive, like a Spec RX-7, which can cost you $3,000 or less. You see our Miatas, which are the most race car, I think, in the world. And Miata will run you anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000, depending on whether it's a showroom Spec Miata or Spec Miata. Is it a Pro Cup Series or Champion Series type car, something that can run in the majors? Or is it just, you know, kind of like a, I don't want to say a beater, but less competitive type car? But you'll find them for a variety of prices. All the way up to, you know, Porsche GT3s, which cost over $100,000. So there is a car for everybody out there. If you've got money to burn, we can help you find that car. If you've got a race on a budget, we can help you find that too. So really, if this is something that interests you, there's options for everybody. VirtualMars.com is our home for this series. Like I said, based off the Mars series itself, a lot of the tracks you're going to see, we don't really go to Mid-Ohio, but Watkins Glen, VIR, all of that's in the real Mars series. We will have week 8 will be on 12/20, and that will be at Charlotte. And that will be an SRF race. Our Spec Racer Fords, which are our open-wheeled but have fenders cars. The Spec Racer Ford is a spec class designed by SCCA and is frequently raced throughout the area. 12:27 and 1:03. We have no events scheduled. Thank you, Dave, for giving me a 2-week break. I appreciate it, although I do imagine it probably would have been difficulty getting racers right around Christmas and New Year's. People have things to do, and we all understand that. Week 9 will resume on 1/10/2018. It will be New Jersey Motorsports Park, the Thunderbolt track, very popular track for us. Fingers crossed, our website will be launched, and I will be talking obsessively about it because it's awesome, it's cool, it's got a complete new visual overhaul. We're really trying to modernize and bring this club into the 21st century. We have quite a large social media presence, but it is time to update that website, get it to something that looks good and is functional and provides you with the information you need to know in case you are interested in any of the events that we do. Week 10 will be on 1/17. That is our closer week, our final week, and that'll be at Summit Point, Maine. It is entirely possible we will run a second series. Dave has not talked to me about that yet. If you don't know, Dave Fitzgerald, who is our currently 4th place Volkswagen, organizes this event. This is sort of his baby. I'm just the guy he pressures into doing all the announcing. And Dave will probably let me know if we conclude at the beginning of January. Let's say we take a week or 2 off. If we run February, March. Yeah, it's possible we could do another series. It would start bleeding over into the real racing season, but there wouldn't be that much bleed over. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We tend to get very busy as the racing season starts up. If you don't know, for the Washington, D.C. region, I do a lot of the marketing for the region. We are stepping up our marketing. Sorry, folks, I had a bit of a sneeze there. Hence the website redesign, and hopefully you're going to see some more advertising for us going out into the real world through digital platforms and maybe even something else. Maybe we're going to cross outside of just digital and do something there, but we'll see. Of course, if I find anything out before the 17th, which is our last race, I will definitely tell you all. Meanwhile, here comes Frank out of the pits, into the pits. This is his second pit, so he must have had an incident. But right now we got Travis out there running behind Mike Kelly, who is in first place with the Volkswagens. Mike currently in first place by 14 seconds. So Frank now falling behind David to take up 4th place. David now in 3rd. And that time behind David just creeping up the longer he sits in the pits. Again, this being his second pit, I don't quite know what's going on there, but you know, that's unfortunate for Frank. We see Paul here, who's about 14 seconds behind David, who is kind of run away with the Miata race right now. We have about 7:45 left to go in the race, and David is clearly out in front in the Miatas with a 14-second lead. Just like Mike Kelly has about a 14-second lead over Travis. So it's looking pretty good for those guys as long as they can keep all 4 wheels pointed in the right direction. So we'll go back to watching Michael and Forrest because they really are the ones that are our closest race right now and first and second overall. So some other things I'd like to point out are sponsors. I haven't talked about our sponsors in this series in a while, but I would like to bring up the Washington, D.C. region sponsors. Radial Tire Company, who is based out of Silver Spring, Maryland. If you need tires for your minivan or your race car, Radial Tire is the place to go. One of the nice things about Radial Tire is they will shave your tires for you. Some of us have to drive on a spec tire, like myself, which is a Toyo RA1, which comes with tread. I don't want tread when I'm on a racetrack, so Paul out there at Radial Tire will shave my tires for a very reasonable price, and the tires themselves are also very reasonable. I don't want to throw any prices out there, but you'll want to go see Paul. Paul will take care of you. So whether it's for your street car or your race car, Paul's the guy to go to. He himself is also a club racer, has done it for years. It's kind of on and off at different times because he has a tire business to run. But Radio Tire Company, great place to go. OG Racing, they're both online and they have stores around the Washington, D.C. region. They are there to provide you with all the equipment you might need, whether you need a seat or a harness or a fire suit or a helmet. OG Racing is the place to go in the area for road racing type gear. They might be the only road racing shop in the area. I do know of some other performance shops in the area, but they're all focused on drag racing. So OG Racing is really focused on the road course, the autocross, the rally, the type of events that SCCA does. And then of course we have Racing Junk. RacingJunk.com is our home for all our classifieds. If you're looking to buy or sell a car, RacingJunk.com is the place to go. It is free to buy or sell a car. You may say free, how do they make any money? But they obviously have premium services. If you want your car to be listed as a special deal or at the top of an ad or on a banner, you could pay extra for those kind of things. But if you just want to go and list your car for sale, or you want to go and buy a car, there's no transaction fees or anything like that. It's all free. And Racing Junk has thousands of cars available for you to buy. And since racers turn over cars, like you might say be a Spec RX-7 racer and decide you want to get into Miatas, so you go to sell your Spec RX-7 and go to buy a Miata. There is car turnover. People, of course, for own reasons, have to get out of racing too. So there is generally a large inventory there. And there are people that build race cars. They're still building them and selling them. So you can always find cars and also other things like trailers and other equipment there. It's not just cars. It's kind of anything you might need for racing. It's available at RacingJunk.com. I would encourage you to check out our social media presences, to like our Facebook pages. I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're watching us right now, just give us a nice little like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. I'm going to check the chat right now. Just hit the button. Doesn't look like anything's changed. Nobody wants to talk to me. That's okay. But we... you know, I would appreciate a like and subscribe, and make sure that you like and subscribe our Facebook pages and other social media accounts. I'm pretty sure there's a WDCR Instagram and Twitter feed. You can find a lot of that stuff, especially when our new website launches. It's all going to be linked there. One of the things about racing is there is always an ample amount of photographs and videos and other media released. So even if you just like looking at pictures of really awesome cars, checking out the WDCR pages is a good place to go. Michael Monahan doing a little bit of agricultural driving there. Oh, and it looks like the guy, I don't know who that was behind him, but he went off into the wall. I think his race is probably over with 2.5 minutes to go. We could click through real quick. I don't think it was any of our race leaders. No, it looks like it was Ido. Ido Waxman, who is definitely going to need to repaint that car. Still, Michael chasing down Forrest. Forrest increasing his lead to 2.3 seconds. I think the lap cars definitely work to Forrest's advantage. They can kind of go either way, but if you manage them correctly, they can definitely allow you to put some space between you and your competitor. So as we go around the course, we are still watching Forrest and Michael battle it out for first and second overall. The 1.8 second gap between the two. If we look back here for third and fourth, Frank and David battling it out. Frank just making a pass on Dave Fitzgerald. But considering that we are close to the end of the race, I definitely want to keep an eye on the front of that. We should have time to jump back to our other competitors. Forrest just blowing it away right now with a 2-second lead, which is quite a bit. I think this is going to be our second to last lap. When Forrest crosses the finish line, we should get a white flag. See if Michael gives me any indication of that. So on screen it says 2 to go. If they're counting this one, yes. But it's really when they cross, it's going to be 1 to go. So yes, with Forrest crossing the start-finish line, we should be on our white flag lap. This is our last lap of the race. Not much to say here, folks. Michael catching up a little bit on Forrest. We'll have to see how this goes coming into the snake. Forrest leading for the last 12 or 13 laps. So he's led 17 overall to Michael's 20. I'm really thinking Forrest is probably going to come away with this race if the last 13 or so laps have been any indication. Looking at the other, I mean, David Alessandrini is in first for the Miatas, Jeff Jacobs in second, but there is a 19-second gap there. We have Mike Kelly and Travis Trussell in first and second for the Volkswagens, but again, another like 6.5-second gap between Mike and Travis. Pretty close race between David and Frank for third and fourth. We'll probably jump back to them when we make it around this time and see Forrest cross the finish line. David already finished for the Miatas. Forrest looking like he's taking it kind of easy here, not wanting to make any big mistakes. He can't let up too much, but he doesn't want to wreck it either. And here he goes, coming across. Forrest taking first. Michael Monahan in second. Eric Jones in third. Devin Taylor in fourth. David and Jeff being our first and second in the Miata class. Mike Kelly and Travis Trussell third. Travis Trussell third and fourth. Or first and second in our Volkswagen class. Sorry, folks. It's been a long race. This is where I need two announcers. Seriously. Zach taking third in our Miata class. Frank taking third in our Volkswagen class. Dave Fitzgerald taking fourth. And then the rest being Miatas with Sam Scott, Noel Leslie, Dennis Barnett, Paul Darling, Ida Waxman, Alan Claffey, and CB Bronlich, who left early due to melting his car. Of course, I am your announcer, Michael Root. I hope you enjoyed this session of iRacing, and we hope to see you all next week when we do, as a final reminder, next week we will be doing Charlotte with the SRFs back to our 30-minute racing format. And everybody have a good evening and good night.